Yeah, my name is Roberto Wyszkowski, and you can call me Abu Max for future reference. I think it's a better name for the region. Okay, so I'm not a professor. I'm not an academic. Actually, I'm a practitioner. I've been in consulting, in and out of consulting for a long time, with some of the firms that you saw there, some global firms. And really, what I'd like to share with you today, some of the things that we've done here in the region, or we're actually doing now in the region, but more importantly, since you already got a very heavy flavor on what are the methods and the tools that are still very popular out there, the lessons learned, okay? So what not to do, and what are the things that you can do moving forward, because the world is changing very rapidly, and we are changing. The new generations are coming, and the way they like to manage businesses and the way they interact with the business is a bit different nowadays. We have both huge external pressures for change and also internal from our own people. Okay, so I'll walk you through some of these lessons learned towards the end of the presentation. So, as you can hear for my introduction, we don't see this as a tool approach or a management approach. There are experts about this, very good ones, been there for a long time. I was part of that space for quite some time as well. And you know, here we are to talk about balanced scorecard, and it's a 23-year-old methodology, right? Proven methodology, which is very good. But what we see in the market over and over in for-profit and non-for-profit organization is about the people, and that was mentioned here. So what is that mindset that is required from the people? And that's what we are focusing on. How do you develop all this mindset, culture, which is a very fluffy word in my view, I'll get to that later, from inside the organization? Because all these tools, all this knowledge comes from outside, but if people don't know how to use it, and more importantly, don't believe that it's actually good for them and for the organization, we have a major problem. And that is the reason why we've been talking about for several years, I see the same information over and over, and still, we saw it earlier, that about 50% of the execution, or the strategy, is lost during the execution. How come? We have amazing practices from Harvard, from everywhere. How come? And smart people, right? I want to believe that we're all very smart. So what's wrong? What's happening? What's lost? And more importantly, how do we lose it? Okay, and this is a Harvard, I'm sure you're familiar. If not, you can find it. We have our own study that we'll show here in a few seconds, but it's a Harvard Business Review study that probably, I have some colleagues here from Palladium, maybe 15 years ago, started with this. 40 to 60%, and they repeated it over and over, it's lost. We need to find a solution for that, and perhaps it's not method, but how we use it and who's in charge of using it. Maybe we need to give it a twist. Maybe it's time to innovate. It's time to, not to invent, but to innovate, okay? So I'll get to that. So for this reason, we approach the organizations through the journey that they normally, any organization, for-profit and not-for-profit, they go through when they want to execute. And there are 4 steps. Not 10, not 15, not 20, not a lot of things there. 4 steps, okay? We can all relate to that. It's common sense, okay? The first one is insight. So people really understand what to do. Do they really have the sense of the purpose, where they're going? Where's that organization getting to? What is that purpose? Okay? So we look at some of the numbers that one of the surveys in strategy execution, actually the largest data point survey in strategy execution in the world, done by Mr. Jerome de Flanders, who's worked with Khalid Abu Nahyan. He mentioned that before. We're part of that engagement. And also SABIC, just to mention one, I think, relevant organization here in the region. They are struggling to inspire people or to communicate And this survey is considering organizations from cross industries. Just to name a few, okay, I named the local ones, or regional ones, but we're talking about organizations such as Google, Sony, okay, Shell, Exxon, BP, who's participated in this survey, and they still struggle to execute. Are they successful or not? Very successful, right? So, for us as practitioners, and I want to talk about we as practitioners, not the consultant and the non-consultant, how do you convince your peers inside your organization that is very successful to be even more successful? But those guys, those names, those big names, including Sadek, which is very successful here, how do you convince everyone to be even more successful? If you're not able to inspire them to overcome these numbers over there, then you have a problem, okay? And this is what I want to share with you, some insights of what not to do or try to avoid, okay? Capabilities. Okay, so how many people in the organization actually understand exactly their contribution and what needs to be done, okay, to overcome those challenges? And if they don't have that, we need to create that ability. It was mentioned here many times that we train our people. We need to do it ourselves. And I hear, as a consultant, obviously, consultant advisor, and I always smile when people say, don't leave it in the hands of the consultants. Absolutely right. We are enablers. We're just facilitating the change. If it's not owned by the people, it's not going to happen. And I'm sure you can relate to that in your own job. You know, if you have your teams that you're leading and they don't understand, they don't own it, you will not get the results. But sometimes having the ability, having the tools, obviously is not enough. We need to get the commitment of the people. And for that, you need to create that accountability. And this accountability concept is changing radically around the world. This top-down, yes, boss, has changed. It's a very collaborative effect. And the new generations, they say yes, that is not very loud. No? If they're not convinced, they may tell you yes, but they're not going to do the job. And then we contribute to that 50% of execution loss. And then we come to the results. And here's a tricky thing. And I want to go back to the basics when I explain the rest of the presentation. We're still struggling with the same thing that humankind wants for ages, that we all read in our kids' books. We want to know the future. Who wouldn't like to know the future? This crystal ball situation. So all these things that you put in here, if it's not helping you to predict the future, and I know what I'm saying, it's on camera, right? I'm being recorded. If it's not helping your predictive analytics to understand whether you're getting there or not, it's a burden in the organization. And I've been part of that burden. That's why I can speak like this, okay? I've been in places where people say, this is too much. I have a job to do. I have to deliver results. So if we don't create that simplicity, it was mentioned here, it's all about that. Practicality and 100% business sense, okay? It will not work, okay? So, what do? We partner with this gentleman, this strategic execution ambassador, Jerome Flanders, who speaks around the world, probably some of you know, bestseller, book in Amazon, and so on and so forth. He's got this data point, 1,000 data points around the world, but then we figured out that in the GCC, very little has been studied. You know, I was very happy to see one of my dear friends, Abed, who I, gladly saw starting his career consulting with me in the region, and now I can see him very successful here in front of all of you. I hope. I wish he would have been here, but he knows that I'm saying this. You can communicate this to him. Yeah. To see that, there's people that are concerned about the region, okay? There's not enough information in the region to benchmark ourselves, to learn about ourselves, and this is a great opportunity to create that. And also the more information we generate to try to create those peer points, that collaboration, to see where the gaps are, very important, okay? Now, this is very statistical stuff. I'm a chemical engineer, so I'm going to just fly very quickly through it, right? But you can read the numbers. So what we've done is for 1 year research, full year research, we engaged 200 organizations, not 200 people, 200 organizations. I mentioned a few already. Some big, some small, some for-profit and non-for-profit, okay? Unfortunately, the region, we have some exceptions, no? The non-for-profit organizations still need to catch up, no? in this area, but they must do it, no? Because the citizens, no? they want to see good results. And I give you some examples later about this, right? So it was cross-sector in the region with these numbers right there, with that balance. SABIC is one of them, to name a few. Keynote in the UAE, if we have any UAE people here. Okay? And the more important thing is that we need to analyze. So this just to give you a flavor, okay, this is going to be published with much more analysis. It's going to be public information in our website, and I'm sure through our friends from Mile, we put this knowledge out there. It should be public knowledge. And if we need to understand what to do, okay, here we see that a lot of organizations, they say that 82% have a clear vision, and around 68 claim to have a very good strategic plan. But yet, as you see down the road, they struggle in the execution. So we know where we want to be, of course. If you ask any leaders, where are you supposed to be? We want to win. Win in the quality of life of the citizens, win in the money in the bank for the profit organizations, right? We all want to win. So our vision is clear, right? And we, of course, we have a strategic plan. But what happens later on when we create the ability that we don't invest in the right places? We don't put that information in the right people. So we're still struggling to assign the right people to the initiatives with the right knowledge to execute. And the initiatives is the action plan, right? So we are in between something that we like to call the what and the how. Simple. No? And any tool, you'll see that. So what we want is a result. But what about the how? We struggle in the how, still. Do we assign the right capabilities, the right people? And perhaps they're too complex. No? If I have too many initiatives, no? My day has 25 hours. Yours? 25, 26 hours a day. So sometimes this complexity is overwhelming these guys, right? What about training in other areas? You know, it was mentioned here that we have a lot of different areas that are complementing strategy execution. And personally speaking, I don't think they complement. They've always been there. You just want to call it different ways. But they've all been there. When people say risks, you, as an entrepreneur, I forgot to mention that I'm one of the founders of Shift-In, and I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, not only here, but overseas. Who doesn't evaluate the risk? As an owner, as a leader, as a responsible for the results. Who doesn't? So why are we insisting on having these things in separate places? You know, should be all together, right? It's all part of the same boat. We have to run, but we need to have brakes so we don't hit the wall, right? That is risk management. So who doesn't do that out there? Successful organizations, they do. So decoupling all this management jargon or methodologies in our discipline is not working. We need to make sure that it's all blended with business sense and business backbone, okay? Now, in accountability, okay? Yes, we appraise the good performance, but in the region, 51%, so half of the people, the underperformers, there's no action to it, or there's no review. So we appraise the good ones, but we don't talk to the bad ones. And I'm not saying that we need to fire them, right? We need to help them. That's what I'm trying to say. Because those people may have a lot of experience, a lot of culture, maybe they're having difficulties coping with change, but are we actually reviewing that? Or are we only focusing on the ones that are growing? So something is crooked right there, right? some analysis can be done. And still, in the region, 4 out of 10 are losing their execution. So it's not only that Harvard Business Review worldwide type of approach, but also here in the region we have the same problem. Said by 200 very successful organizations. And I can see some faces doing like this. You know? That's probably a reason why we're here. Now, what about the tools? And I like to talk about tools and business, okay? So tools-wise, we still have very high popularity on this, huge popularity in the 71%. Maybe this is related to the latest crisis that we have, right? So people want to focus more on the planning side before they execute because things are changing too much. And personal scorecards, which is a little bit on par with balanced scorecard. One of the things or tools that are in the radar for a lot of organizations, okay, and this are still in order to align, and we work with global companies that have a large number of people. You know, some of them were mentioned here. I think Rashad talking about an organization of 18,000. SABIC is 40,000. We're working with them. How many people you think SABIC is aligning to the personal scorecards? 40,000 people around the world. How many? Personal scorecards. Just a number. Anybody? 1,000? 1,000? 3%? Okay. I'm very bad at math. It's 3%. So 1,000, less than 1,000, more than 1,000? Yeah? What about risk management framework and innovation? These things are coming very quickly into the picture. Okay? How do we make sure that the decision makers are following what we require to get in the organization? And of course, innovation and risk. Our approach, I'd like to share this with you, because for us, as I started my conversation with you, is about creating a mindset. Okay? And the mindset is actually shaping up the culture of the organization. So I'll share with you something that I hear in one of these conferences that is about the human brain, how this human brain works. Okay, so I'm going to talk about people. Our brain works in a certain specific way. We know it. We store and we process, right? Once we're able to store something, we don't need to spend too much time. It's there. I'll give you an example. Well, some of you wear shoes with laces, but example applies even if you don't have laces or wear sandals. Every morning before you leave your home and you put your shoes on, you go for the same side always. And you don't look at the shoe most of the time. Why? Because it's there, right? Because you know it already. You create a habit, okay? So how do we make sure that we create a habit in the organization? So people execute. We don't have to push so hard and make such huge investments year on year to talk about the same thing over and over. We lost 50%. We want this EBITDA, we got this much. Okay? We wanted this satisfaction and we got this much. No? What is this? To me, it's either bad planning or people not prepared. So how do we create this habit? It's a process. Okay? And this process, in each step of the process, we have to make sure that people get the right skills and the right knowledge with the right approach. They need to understand why are we doing this? Why is this important? Okay? So the first step in this galaxy, I don't know if you guys can read that. I don't read it from here, I'm sorry. We'll share this document with you. Is the strategy development. Okay? So what are the key takeaways from strategy development? What are the things that we should not do and learn from when we do strategy development? Avoid the poetry. Remember that? Avoid poetry in strategy development. Vision, mission. You know? More than half of the organizations that we go to, vision and mission, you ask the people, don't remember, they don't understand what they mean. Each word, I don't know. So, simple. You want to develop a strategy? What is the result that you want to get? What does the holding group want to obtain as a result? Khalid, profitability or free cash flow? Is it cash for the family or is it profitability for the books of the holding because I'm about to IPO it? What is it? If we don't explain this clearly, from the beginning, people make small, wrong decisions that create an exponential negative effect in the organization because they make assumptions, you see? And because we have professional people, very nice people, we create something that is very interesting, that without numbers, any opinion is valid. So numbers start from that point, the first point. The step is, what are we supposed to achieve as a result? And I like your presentation very much. It's the green areas. So everything is decoupled from the green areas. What I'm talking about is from the books, Harvard, you name it, is the value gap. Okay, and I think Rashad touched upon a little bit of this. When we say KPIs, people think of numbers. Put a number. No poetry. Lesson learned, don't put poetry. I'm a business owner. When I do my strategy, the last thing that I'm going to write is the vision. I'm sorry to be so disruptive, but it's the last thing that I'm going to write. As a poetry, that's for the website. I'm sorry. You have to put the number. And your people need to understand that. So lesson learned, number one, strategy development, quantified vision, number, value gap, clearly value gap. So as my friends in the manufacturing business, what is your margin per ton? And if you're a commoditized industry, I have some people here, I talked to some people before, commodity, your margin per ton is going down. So if it goes down, you don't make a change, the company will disappear. Sense of urgency. So we say why, we make a change. Companies that don't change and don't acknowledge that value gap for the future disappear. We have examples like Kodak and so on. I'll go quickly. I think they're calling me for closure. I don't want to take your time. Is it okay? You're enjoying? All right, thank you. In the mapping, okay? Second one, strategy mapping. We all know this, okay? Make it simple, okay? Our professors from Harvard, Kaplan, and Norton keep saying over and over, keep it 15 to 20 objectives. Okay, 1.5 ratio to KPIs. What do I see? Half of the time or more? 60, 70, 80, 100 KPIs. We spend half of our life simplifying. We create that complexity. And complexity is like CO2. You know, CO2. You don't see it, but it kills you if you have too much of it, right? So avoid complexity. If you start with that number, you have the ability to break up that profitability and understand exactly where it comes from. You can shape up your framework of execution with objectives, KPIs, initiatives, whatever you like. But make it simple. Okay? Risk management. What is the role? Like I said, it has to be embedded very early in the process. We don't put that in the operational side. Enterprise risk management in the operations is good. Now it's all the way up here. Why? Let me give you just a quick 2 examples that had to do with planning. Oil price. Everybody's talking about is going to come back up. What if it doesn't? What if it stays at 40? What are the implications? All the what ifs. So as an analogy, this point is what if? As managers, we have to be in that space, and it comes in the beginning, not in the end. What if this? What if that? And it's not a lot of things. We're talking about here in the region, for instance, talking about oil price staying low, business. What happened? What is the implication? China slowed down. What happened to me? China slows down. Feedstock availability for a lot of us. There's no more gas. Energy consumption, demand going up. Less feedstock. So I'm going to continue growing here, or I have to expand somewhere else where the feedstock is so I can generate electricity and get my products done. Who's doing that analysis? That's not another department. That's strategy execution, my friends. You have your map and you have your control system, your flags, that if it gets too bad, if the oil price doesn't pick up, I need to make a change. So it has to be early in the process. And it goes on and on to all these different aspects, and I'm sure we can share this presentation with all of you, okay? But I don't want to stop all this without getting to this last point. which is innovation. Okay? This is a newcomer into execution. It's been mentioned many times, and I just want to leave you with a few more words here. Innovation is not invention. Okay? It's doing the same or more with less. So we're talking about business innovation, which is going into the process to be more efficient. If you want to create more yield, okay, so higher utilization, better yield, better product, whatever product it is, competencies, okay, natural gas, gasoline, whatever you're yielding outside your organization, how are you going to look at those processes and technologies to make it even better? You know? Everybody's in that business today. It's about fighting for the margin. So innovation is very much in that space. We will not invent. And to close now, in all this journey, there's one aspect that has been mentioned many times, but I want you to put in critical numbers for you to remember. The most successful companies in the world today, and I give you an example of Apple that everybody understands, their market value is almost 7 times the book value. 7 times. 7 times the book value. Where's that value coming from? No. How much do they spend in innovation? Invest in innovation. Do you know? 3%. No. It's all intangibles. So our challenge as managers is to manage the intangibles. And here, when you do this whole cycle, you need to always keep an eye on those intangibles. And I'm talking about the knowledge, which is very much mentioned here. And again, we spend half of the time training people into strategy execution, thousands of people. Next week I'm off to China, last with Sabic, last year I was in the US and Europe. This training is not only in the methods, people need to understand the business. What are the risks? What is the sector? What is the analytics in the planning side? What if? This what if mentality doesn't come with a balanced scorecard only. I'm sorry to be, again, so disruptive, but people need to understand their business. And those capabilities are changing very quickly, okay? So, intangibles, knowledge, information availability, analytics. The more information I have, the better decisions I can make. What else is an intangible? Relationships. Apple has a relationship with the people. That's why they value it so much. Facebook traded for billions, right? There's a relationship with people. Where are the capital? Where's the book value of that organization? The world is moving towards that. And these tools, all the tools, including this tool that is bringing us together today, has a very important component down there that if we don't manage that cause and effect, I forgot to mention that, cause and effect has to be managed. I see 8 out of 10 people that I meet, Balanced Scorecard is a repository of information, but it doesn't have a proper cause and effect. And this is something, huge area of improvement that we're happy and proud to be helping people in the region. I'm sorry it took a little bit more time, with permission of a really good friend right here.